Are you serious? Are you serious, man? This coffee is good. What? Well, you don't want to miss tonight's Sunday Night Live. Oh, man, I've got a message for you. Seriously, the Lord wants to really, really bless in a mighty way. Prophetically, there's a lot going on as well. But I want you to know right now that Jerusalem, you need... And look, Benjamin Netanyahu said it best. He says, Palestinians, you just must face reality over Jerusalem. You just got to face the reality. And even Jesus told us in Matthew chapter 5, during the great Sermon on the Mount, he made these words. He said in verse 33, this is Matthew 5:33. He said, again, you have heard that has been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but thou shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King, capital K-I-N-G. Now, in Psalms 48, King David, before the temple was ever even built, before it was ever built, David, though, prophesies about Jerusalem. And he says this in Psalms 48, 3,000 years ago, he says, great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, for the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, and the sides of the north, the city of the great King, capital K-I-N-G. But then it doesn't end there. Because in the book of Zechariah, there's a prophecy that has yet to be fulfilled. It is in the 14th chapter of Zechariah. Now, Zechariah already told you in chapter 12 that Jerusalem, God would make Jerusalem a cup of trembling, a burdensome stone for all people. And all that burden themselves with it, well, they're going to be broken into pieces. He said he'd come to seek and destroy all nations that come against Israel. And even in Zechariah chapter 2, he says, you don't want to touch the apple of God's eye, referring to Israel. But in Zechariah 14, he says these words in verse 16. This is Zechariah 14:16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, capital K-I-N-G, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, nobody does, look, wait a minute. Muslims don't do the Feast of Tabernacles. And when we're saying the King, we're talking about, and the King, worship the King, the Lord of hosts. That is the Messiah, that's Yeshua, that is Jesus Christ our Lord. Look at verse 17. And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. No blessings. No blessings. No rain. All right? So, look, folks, in Jerusalem today, Benjamin Netanyahu said Jerusalem had been the capital of Israel for over 3,000 years and had never been the capital of any other people, because I just read to you 3,000 years, Psalms 48, what David said. He spoke amid ongoing protests in the Muslim and Arab world at a U.S. decision recognizing Jerusalem as the capital. Violence flared near the U.S. embassies in Lebanon and elsewhere on Sunday, but in Jerusalem itself, a Palestinian was arrested after stabbing and seriously wounding an Israeli security guard at the central bus station. Speaking in Paris after the talks with French President Emmanuel Macron, Mr. Netanyahu said efforts to deny the millennial connection of the Jewish people to Jerusalem were absurd. Quote, you can read it in very fine book. It's called the Bible, he said. You can read it after the Bible. You can hear it in the history of the Jewish communities. Throughout our history, where else is the capital of Israel but in Jerusalem? The sooner the Palestinians come to grips with this reality, the sooner we will move towards peace. Meanwhile, a spokesman for the U.S. Vice President Mike Pence strongly criticized the Palestinian Authority, saying it is unfortunate that the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas was declining to meet with Vice President Mike Pence on his forthcoming trip to the region. And in Egypt, the country's top Muslim and Christian clerics have also canceled and scheduled talks with Vice President Mike Pence in a protest at the U.S. Everybody's got to save face. Everybody's got to save face, and then it's over, okay? The flames are already starting to dampen. Everybody's going to cancel it first. Okay? They all got to save face. But 6 months from now, there's a big check waiting. Let's just get where it's at. This is why you don't see as massive outbreak of violence. This is why there's not 3,000 rockets flying out of Gaza into Israel right now. I mean, out of Hezbollah. The reason Hezbollah's not firing any rockets out of Lebanon right now, the reason everybody's scared to death. The Israelis are too powerful. They're saving face. They're letting a few people throw rocks, burn a few tires in the streets, get a few guys arrested, some tear gas, some rubber bullets. But look, folks, it's dying down already. Then the rest of the world condemning this move once it's all said and done. Jared Kushner has already been out ahead of all of this. I need you to know this. He is already way out ahead of this. They've been negotiating already. It's all about how big a check is the Palestinian Authority going to receive to put together a new peace deal. Let Israel have Jerusalem as their capital. But keep everybody calm and don't let it get out of hand. Let's go back to the table, and we'll be able to give the Palestinians an opportunity to receive more money and and try to help them build an infrastructure that could turn their entire people around. Will Hamas wreck the deal and keep the fight going so that they get funded? See, this is what's happened. The Palestinian people have been hijacked by a radical Islamic terrorist group called Hamas, with infiltration from ISIS, and then the irritation from Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and you've got the Syrians, and of course the threat of annihilation by the Iranians. But at the end of the day, the Muslim Brotherhood, but at the end of the day, how big is the check? I'll be back with more current world events. And if you look at it from a biblical standpoint, just study the Bible. You already know how it's going to wind up. Jerusalem is the city of the great king, the King of Kings. And he's coming back just like he said. I'll be back with more current world events and how it relates to biblical prophecy. So in other words, take all the emotion out of it. And those of you who hate Israel, take all the emotion out of it. And relax and look at the Bible and understand. You better understand the prophetic ramifications of what's happening. We are in the last days, and things are starting to manifest quickly now. Are you serious? Wow. And like Mike Huckabee said, President Trump the decision, what he did was already made. He just fulfilled what was made in 1995. His announcement, his proclamation to move that embassy and declare Jerusalem the capital of Israel was really not a political move at all. It was a prophetic move. Very prophetic. Are you saved? Shalom.